Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Tuesday, December 14th, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, CJ Reichel. Not too much going on today in the crypto markets, a little bit of a bounce back, but the Time Man of the Year, Mr. Elon Musk, steps back in, makes a big announcement that Tesla will be selling some merch, and you can purchase that by using Dogecoin. Breathe some life back into that meme coin that had been seeing some heavy sell pressure so far over the last month and a half here or so. But other than that, the market's kind of consolidating like we expected. But CJ, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, Monty. Yeah, not a lot in terms of price action, but a lot in terms of news and what we've got going on today. First of all, like what you had mentioned with Elon, I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter, but there was, a picture of Elon, obviously man of the year, on the background of like a chart, and then it compared Bezos in when he won man of the year in like 1999, right when Amazon was like 1 month away from the all-time high. So hopefully it's not like the Madden curse. You gotta be pretty old to get that one. But overall, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, Elon coming out saying that they're going to experiment with Doge. Instantly, we get like a 25% bump in price. That's quite interesting. We also got Fed Chairman Jerome Powell speaking later today at 2:30 Eastern Time about potential tapering and rate hikes potentially. So we'll see how that goes. But one thing that I'd like to dive into straight away is just the bearish sentiment, not only in Bitcoin, but also in the equity market leading up until this Fed meeting. Because this chart that I have shown right here is put volume in all of equities. And you can see that we had a massive spike leading up into this meeting earlier this week. This has far surpassed levels of put buying that we saw shortly after March of 2020 and that COVID low. And each time we've had a lot of fear and come close to these local bottoms, put buying has spiked like this. So I think this is a good gauge of sentiment in terms of the equity market and crypto. But interesting to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, that's that put buying behavior is, characteristic of, the sort of price action we saw yesterday. But also I think that, today, we're seeing a bit of uncertainty in the traditional equity markets, and I think in the crypto markets as well. And I think a lot of that has to do with what you mentioned earlier, Fed Chairman Powell speaking later today. But also we have a Senate hearing at 9:15 where they'll be discussing central bank digital currencies. So that should be interesting as well, because, there's a lot of regulational uncertainty around stablecoins. I know there's different opinions in the Senate as well. So that will be on at 9:15 Central, right around the time we usually finish this. So we'll be checking that out as well. But I think that that's kind of why the markets today, CJ, are looking a little bit uncertain. Do you think we could perhaps see some price action in the second half of the day once we get some clarity from these news-related events?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually leaning a little bit more bullish, just because, I do believe that if I had to guess, we'd probably see, continued tapering, a reduction of buying on the Fed's behalf, especially after the CPI numbers coming out. However, if I had to say whether or not if they would raise rates, I would say probably no. We looked at that put buying just a minute ago. I think that's a reflection of a lot of individuals who are already preparing for a bearish outcome. So I think that this news is somewhat priced into the market. Also, just to look at the Bitcoin chart very briefly, it is still postured, quite negatively. However, we are beginning to see the first instances of divergence in the RSI in terms of a bullish divergence. So, if you were long and the chart was reversed, you would be exiting that long position, just as if you were short here, you'd likely be exiting that short position. It's nothing monumental yet. I still like to go by the basics and make sure the trend really gets a nice higher high before saying, all right, we're back to trending once again. But nonetheless, this is quite interesting to start seeing a slowdown in the decreasing RSI and actually starting to see some higher lows into it. So, with that being said, it's going to be an interesting day. Like you mentioned, the meeting at 9, and then of course the Fed meeting later at 2:30 Eastern. So
Yeah, lots of news to watch today, and I think you made a great point there about Bitcoin. And I want to dive into some on-chain metrics just real quick because I think I've seen a lot of people in our community talking about Bitcoin's price action in these last couple of weeks here and how it's been somewhat similar to the price action we saw in May. And I've seen similar amounts of fear that we saw in the markets around this time. But what the on-chain metrics are telling us is that this is a different type of correction. We are seeing short-term holders capitulate, retail traders that bought the top here are selling. We had less of that than occurred over here. And one thing that's really important, CJ, that we always talk about, and we haven't mentioned in a while, is the role that whales play in this market. And I just wanted to provide some sort of reassurance for people that are potentially scared because there is lots of fear in this market right now. But one thing that is different than what we saw in May, as you can tell here, this is the number of balances with more than 10K Bitcoin. So these are like big whales. These are the Moby Dick whales, as CJ and I like to call them, the white whales. And these are the big accounts. We saw them distribute into market strength when Bitcoin is making new highs in May. But here, when we've been pulling back, they've actually been buying this dip. We've been seeing the number of wallets with over 10K Bitcoin increase. And this is from Glassnode, so this is filtered for known entities, like exchanges or other known wallets. But I think this is a very interesting chart to note because whenever we see these whales start to accumulate, it puts a really interesting supply shock dynamic into play. But I think most notably from this chart, what you can take away is the sentiment element of it, and how the supply and demand dynamics of the current price action are very, very different than what we saw in the previous kind of market cycle at the beginning of the year here. So on-chain metrics are telling us that whales are accumulating. Historically, that means that we have limited exposure to the downside. That being said, price action is still looking a bit precarious here, so we'll have to see how these news-related events play out later today. Any other charts you would like to take a look at, CJ, here on the Daily Crypto Byte?
not particularly. We will look at more, of course, in our members only Doge of the Day, which we do right after this. If you'd like access to that, please check out the link below, marketrebellion.com/try crypto. You can try the first week for just $7, but we appreciate that. And we'll be in that room and streaming that for our members in just a little bit. So
yeah, and one last piece of news I wanted to address from our sponsor, Voyager. I saw this morning on Twitter. They announced their multi-year partnership with the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League. And so this is pretty interesting. It's the first international crypto partnership, creator of the first ever Players Fund. So, that's really interesting. And crypto education for all players as well. So you like to see, that sort of expansion. We've been seeing it all across the board, various, crypto companies getting into, the sporting arenas. Voyager making their expansion into the NWSL. So exciting stuff there from our partner Voyager. But I think that's about all we got for today. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Like CJ said, if you're interested in learning more, head over to our community at marketrebellion.com/try crypto, where we do in-depth analysis daily. We have a 24/7 chat with traders from all around the world. We publish actionable trade insights with entries, exits, stop losses. We have an extensive education curriculum and a whole lot more. So head over there and check that out. And as always, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring this show. If you want to head over there and hold your assets, you can earn up to 12% interest on assets like DOT, 10% on USDC. So definitely head over there and check them out. But that's all we got for today. We'll be doing a more in-depth analysis on the Doge of the day. So for our members, we'll see you there. For the rest of you, see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day and take care.